What is going on, New York Giants fans? I appreciate you guys coming through. We got episode 3 today of the Big Blue Topic. We got Giant Opinion Sports to the right of me. On the bottom, we got the Big Blue Corner, man. What is going on, y'all boys? How you guys been?
Oh man, doing just lovely, man. Just lovely. Just basically just seeing, waiting for was it the combine to come up, and also the draft, and also definitely to see what they're gonna do in free agent with the team. So, looking forward to big things coming.
Facts,
I'm just
facts,
looking at
man.
ice and snow and dreaming of spring.
Hey,
Yeah, me too.
I don't blame y'all, man. Y'all's winters be hectic, dog. I don't know how y'all do it. I give y'all a lot of respect. I live in Florida, so with us, I mean, right now it's 85 degrees outside. I walked to my mailbox and I came back sweating, so I am definitely a
He's gonna
little
have to rub
jealous of
that
y'all.
in. He's gonna have to
Nah,
rub. He rubbing that in. I'm gonna have to mail him some snow there. Gos. I gotta mail him some snow.
nah. I love the snow. I get mad jealous, honestly, but I know how the snow can be for y'all, so I'm definitely a little blessed down here. I can't even hold y'all.
It's
I want to
nice a
get to
couple first storms, then that's it. Then you don't want to see any more of it.
Hey man, I mean, the only thing I will say is like our hurricanes. I mean, I look forward to them
Yeah,
honestly.
screw
I'm gonna
that.
be honest with you, because they don't really hit us like that. Like it does, but everybody kind of knows. All right, one person's in charge of the food, others liquor, whatever else you need. And we're all gonna have a good time. We kind of treat it like a little party, so it's pretty cool though. Shit, I want to get to the chat real quick. We got some people in here. We got Mac, the Giants fan. We got D Mac Warrior. I'm with y'all at this point. Hey, yo, D Mac, you got a hard ass name. I can't even lie to y'all.
How
That
you
is a
doing?
hard name. I don't know how you came up with that, but I really like it. What's going on, Mark the Blue Giant? What is going on, Easy 3? Nice seeing you, man. Definitely got to have you on the show in the future, man. I love your takes, man. I really love what you're doing over there, man. Big ups, man.
Jump
So
on
no,
later,
that's
Easy Three.
Oh yeah, most def, most def. That'll be raw. I'll drop the link so we can have some people call in. What is going on, Jeff? What is up, man? Nice dog. I like your dog, man. What's going on? He says my brother hit Rodney and GOS. What's going on, man? What is going on? So we go get into this. I appreciate everyone coming through. So we got quite a few things to talk about today. I'm really excited. I think we all are to talk about it, and I can't wait to break this down with you guys. We're gonna start this off with our quarterback right now for 2022, Mr. Daniel Jones, man. I got some questions in on Twitter. You guys have sent in some questions, which I didn't really think people were going to send in questions, but I see that we've been a little bit more interactive through Twitter. I appreciate it. If you guys want any of your questions on the stream, you can message me on Twitter under Hit Squad Productions. The link will be in the description below, as well as Giant Opinions YouTube link and the Big Blue Corners YouTube link as well. What is going on, Big Pat? Nice seeing you, brother. What's going on, Taj? Thank you for coming through. So
What's going
we're
on,
gonna
Taj? What's going on, Pat?
what is going on, y'all boys? We gonna jump right into this, man. So we got question number one here. Um, this is actually from Stacy on Twitter. Thank you so much, Stacy, for sending this through. She says, Hit Squad, what should we expect from Daniel Jones in 2022? I know a lot of people are on the fence about him. I know a lot of people, including myself, are a DJ believer. Can you give me your thoughts on what you think that we should expect from him? Thanks. Stacy, that's a great question. Thank you so much for sending that in. I really appreciate it, man. Excuse me, miss. I can't believe I just called you man. I'm always saying man all the time. But let's start with you, Rodney. How are you feeling about Daniel Jones? You got any thoughts on him? I really want to hear what you got to say, brother.
I mean, sure. How much time you got, man? I got
You got the
lot to
floor,
say.
man. You got the floor right now. We gonna slide it to GOS when you done, but you got the floor. It's all yours, brother.
All right, this is what I'll say about DJ. First and foremost, it's a double-edged sword with this kid right now, based off of the fact of what the Giants organization has done to him. You can lump Saquon in there as well, but since the topic is DJ, it's a double. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. We want to see what this kid has and what he's able to do behind a competent O line. The problem with that is that because he's in his fourth year, he's pretty. They have to think about whether or not they're going to be picking up this kid's 5th-year option. Next year, he's still under contract this year for 7. Next year, 5th-year option, that's 21. If he doesn't, take that step forward in his play, as far as a player is concerned and as a QB for this team, there's a good chance that he's going to be gone. So, at what point, do we decide on whether or not, all right, he's got this opportunity. Let's go ahead. Let's see what he has. But in the same breath, we're in a rebuilding mode. We are literally in a rebuild mode. And DJ is at a point where it's like, do you want to continue with them, or do you just want to, basically use him as a stopgap quarterback for this year, and then next year, continue with the rebuild, get another quarterback in, and hey, see what we can do as far as trading DJ at that point. I
Yeah.
think go ahead.
Oh no. I was just agreeing with you. Yeah.
I think at some point we just have to sit here and say to ourselves as fans, okay, do you want this kid to succeed? And if you do, more than likely it's going to take more than this season. It's going to go beyond that. But you have a lot of fans that are not, the fans aren't that patient. They want results. They want to see results. They want to see things happen quickly. EZ3, you said Malik Willis, and I told myself I wasn't even going to go down that route with that kid. I had brought up the same, spoke about him in the last episode that we had, but maybe I'll touch bases on that later. But as far as DJ is concerned, I just think that we need to be able to see what he can do. We have to, because if this kid, if we get rid of him now or even next year and he balls out later on and, on another team, then we're going to, as fans, we're going to be sitting there saying to ourselves, well, you know what? Hey, we didn't even give him a chance. Look, he could have been doing that for our team. He could have been doing that for the Giants. We didn't give him the opportunity. And we haven't done anything to help him. Now, you'll have a lot of people saying, well, hey, look, Joe Burrow, he took his team to the Super Bowl and they didn't have a good line. Joe Burrow didn't have our line. Joe Burrow didn't have our scheme. Joe Burrow didn't have all the injuries that we had. So please don't bring Joe Burrow in, even because there's no comparison there. DJ is basically what we need is who we need to be to see progress for the Giants. If he can do that, then you're still in a pickle, because now do you go ahead and you pull the trigger, you pay him that 21 mil, and then guess what? Maybe he regresses. Who knows? But I want to see what Dable, I want to see what they can do, surround this kid with what he needs. That's the most important thing. That's why I'm very, very, very excited to see what they do in free agency if we go that route, as far as O-lineman, and also what we do in the draft. The scheme, I want to see what that scheme is going to be about. So as far as DJ is concerned, I want to see this kid grow. I really want to see this kid grow. I want to see him succeed with the Giants. And if they decide to get rid of him, at a later point, all right, well, you know what? We've been able to see what he can do. But I want to be able to have him given the opportunity to do what is necessary. Give this kid a chance. All right? That's what I want to do. Give this kid a chance.
That's a great point that you make there, Rod. And I 100% agree with you. I think that we have to give this kid a chance. And look, if he's not that guy, he's not that guy. And we won't be the first team where we've drafted a QB in the first round and it didn't work out. And we won't be the last team. But GOS, let me get your thoughts, man. I really love your takes on DJ. And I'm going to pass that mic to you, brother. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, what I want from Daniel Jones is I want to see steady progression. We have seen some things get better every season. The turnovers have come down every year, but we haven't had the production, in the end zone, in the red zone. And that's going to be the big thing for me. Unfortunately, we're at a point to where there's a lot to overcome, and a lot's going to come down to what the organization can put out there too. I mean, can they get him a competent O line? Because I feel like no matter what, if he doesn't produce or he gets hurt again this year, this is it. I mean, the clock is ticking. I love the kid's skill set. I love his work ethic. He seems really committed. It seems like he really wants to win. Maybe that's led to him some of these injuries we've seen to him. And let's be honest. I mean, in order for him to have won here the last couple of years, he's had to have done way more than he needs or should have done. And I really think he's learning. We started to see some of them throws out of bounds, but I really ultimately I think it's all going to come down to can we get some steady progression like we've seen from him, and can we start to see more of Daniel Jones' rookie production down in the red zone because he was pretty good all through college in his first season there. Can we start to see that again? But I think ultimately it's probably going to come down to what kind of offensive lineman can we get around him? Can we get it to even be an average? Because I think if you can get an average offensive line, get like a good tackle, a couple good guards in here, one good tackle in the draft or something, I think he's got a shot. Well, here's the thing. Even if he does have a good year, even though I'm a huge Daniel Jones guy, I think you got to franchise him. I think you got to franchise him, make him reproduce it twice, make him give you 2 years in a row where he's healthy and productive, and then I feel okay about it. So I've heard some people say, "Oh, one, he has a huge year, just sign him." Well, that's all great. I guess you could go that route as long as it's not 40 million a year. But I just want at this point, I want to see it 2 years in a row. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just it's hard for me to say like I expect anything great to appear. It's hard for me to expect even an average offensive line. I do think Daniel Jones will put it into work. Can we see health from the receivers for once in this kid's career? Can we see some offensive linemen block or pick up a stunt? And I think ultimately that's what'll decide his fate here.
Yeah, that's a great point there too. And I like that. I think that we're all in agreement here that we got to give this kid a fair shot. Now, I will agree with you, GOS, that if even if DJ does have a productive year, I'm still kind of hesitant on extending him, giving him that long extension. I wouldn't have a problem franchise tagging him because when you look at us franchise tagging him, I believe it's roughly around. I think it's like 22 million, and honestly, that for a kid that has some good tangibles, I wouldn't mind having him for another year, even if you draft a QB in 2023. Personally, but I'm kind of in the same boat as y'all. I want to give this kid a chance. I don't think that he's really had a fair chance. While I do think that there are things that Jones has to work on, but there are also things where it's like it's hard to ignore. This kid doesn't have an offensive line. This kid didn't have a left tackle until what, last year, and I'm not talking this past season. I'm talking about the year before that. You draft your franchise quarterback, or who you believe is your franchise quarterback, and then you trade away your number one wide receiver and then replace him with Golden Tate. It's just I think the blame has to be kind of spread out, and I think that a lot of it has to be directed at the organization, and how they honestly, and as John Mara said it, failed this kid. Now, I'm not gonna, look past the things that he has to work on. I think those are things that are coachable. I do think that when you look at this offensive line, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, and I'm not here to give this kid any excuses, but I don't think there's really a quarterback that could have succeeded behind this offensive line. I mean, honestly, it's kind of sad how you look at even a player like Mike Lennon, and I don't like Mike Lennon, but he had a solid year with the Jacksonville Jaguars prior to coming to the New York Giants. Looking back at it, I could understand why they brought in a player like Mike Lennon, but he couldn't succeed behind this offensive line. Jake Fromm, who I said this before, and I'll say it again. I went to when we played the Giants, when the Giants played the Philadelphia Eagles in the Link this year, and we had Jake Fromm starting. I went to a sports bar near my house with my pops, and I saw that there was someone at the bar that already had a Jake Fromm jersey, which is insane. Whether that was an
Are you
authentic, whether that
serious?
I swear to God, I've said this on Pat's channel, I said this on Joel's channel. When it happened, I said it. It is insane that there were some fans that were sold on this kid, and he couldn't succeed behind this O line. Now, granted, you can Obviously, he wasn't here that long. This wasn't the scheme that he was used to compared to in Buffalo. Sure. At the same time, this O line is terrible. It's terrible. Our receivers, they can't stay healthy. We weren't scheming our receivers correctly either. And look, I know that when we even brought up our tight ends coach and Freddie Kitchens to OC when Jason Garrett got fired. I mean, I was optimistic that hopefully we would at least see some better plays called. But again, I understood that this was still Jason Garrett's playbook. And we heard, I mean, at least I heard, I don't know about y'all, but I've heard from Browns fans on Twitter that he really isn't, a play caller. He'll call plays, he doesn't build on them, nothing like that. And I think that we saw that last year with the New York Giants. Now with Brian Dable, I mean, I hope that he could get a lot out of this kid, or at least something out of this kid. I don't think that it's a surprise to anyone that his best season was the last time he had a competent offensive coordinator, and that's Pat Shermer. And not for nothing, Pat Shermer ain't the greatest of offensive coordinators out there. He's competent, but still. So I don't think that that's a shock that his best year was the last time he had a like-minded offensive coordinator. I do think that you have to get this kid in O-line. I think that you have to get him another receiver because I don't think that Sterling Shepard is here. I don't even think that Slayton's going to be here. I'll be 100% honest with you. I think that he could be traded this offseason. So they're going to need another receiver. There's nothing set in stone that Ingram's going to be back. So he's going to need another tight end. I mean, I understand both sides of the argument where it's you want to give this kid a chance. I also understand that it may be best for him to get a fresh start somewhere else after this season. I mean, he hasn't been given any favors whatsoever, in my honest opinion. And again, when you look at the 5th year option, that's really what I'm looking at. If he even has a solid a solid year this year under Brian Dable, I'm not looking to sign him to a multi-year deal. I'm gonna need to see that again, in my honest opinion. I'm gonna need to see that again, and if that can't be done, then I do see us drafting a QB in 2023. But ultimately, I really want to give this kid a chance, man. Sorry, I went on
Well,
a tangent there, but
Easy
No, no,
three
no. You're
says, well, Easy three said he's just going to get hurt, and then we're going to be hearing the same stuff next year. Maybe from a small minority of fans, you'll be hearing the same kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter what this fan says or that says fan. Dave Gettleman's not here. Brian Dable and Joe Shane did not draft this kid. They're going to take 1 year to look at him, no matter what we think as fans. They're going to take 1 year to evaluate him, and that's it. Because what they're going to do is they're going to crunch down on quarterbacks in next year's draft, and I guarantee you they're going to fall in love with one of them. That's just the way it works. They're going to want to bring in their own guy if Daniel Jones don't succeed. So I just don't. I'm not buying that. If he's injured, he's gone. I'd
yeah.
put money on it right now. I'd put my house on it. He's gone if he gets hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there with you, man. And I want to see. I really want to see where he stands with his neck. I personally didn't think it was that serious. I thought it was more of a caution. And plus, we weren't really going anywhere, and we knew that this offensive line was trash. So why are we going to want to risk getting him even more injured? Just have him. Take every measure that he can. At least this is just me talking. Be cautious with your QB. Save him for the next season. Let him get some extra health in. But if that neck isn't good, if he gets injured again, yeah, I definitely agree. I could see us moving on from him. Um, but my thing is, I will say this much: with him getting injured, a lot of the time, if not most of the time, it's been caused by him, outside of the pocket. I really want this kid to learn how to slide, man. I mean, I've played, baseball. I know that it's actually more harder to slide than a lot of people think. But I would want DJ to at least in the off
Yo,
season.
every time he slides, he gets hit anyways.
Yeah,
Like, have you?
exactly, exactly. Maybe he has to slide, a little beforehand than he usually does. And honestly, look,
Maybe.
we saw him take out. I think it was a defensive lineman for the Falcons. This
Yeah.
year, running it into the goal line. And as impressive as that was, I don't want my QB doing that, man. That's
I
that's a
think Dable's
concussion
going to run
waiting
him.
to
I
happen.
I
Oh, I
think
think so
Dable's going to
too.
use him as a running game hit squad. I really do. I think he's coming here and he's going to use them just like how Jason Garrett was because that's probably the only way this team's going to be able to win any games. Huh.
Well,
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
here's one thing though. Can you highlight Easy Three at 420?
Yes.
Okay. Now I know this is a conversation about DJ, and I want to put this question to Easy3 and also to anybody in the chat. Now, I don't know if you are a Giants fan, Easy3, but I'm assuming
He
that you
is.
are.
He is. Yeah.
I want you to go through all the games that the Giants played this year, with the exception of the wins. Just go through the losses. And I want you to take a look at this from this perspective. Take a look at the O line. Take a look at the play calling and the scheme. Take a look at all the injuries that surrounded DJ. And also take the fact that DJ was out, what was it, the last 6 games of the season. Based just off of all of that, you tell me what quarterback that has played last year, what quarterback would have been able to get wins in this system. I just want to know what quarterback there would be, because I've gone back and I've watched games. I got Game Pass and went back, and I got to honestly tell you, I don't even think Tom Brady, who's the GOAT, could have gotten wins on this team. All right? I don't even think he
At
would have
least
been
not
able to.
behind that O line. I'll tell you that
No,
much.
definitely not. And you're definitely not going to get anything. I mean, you saw the production as far as what Jason Garrett's system produced. You saw it. That was not a system that was designed, in my opinion, to rack up points. It was more of a system designed to manage a game, and barely even that. I mean, who's going to succeed when the defense knows that you're going to be running curl routes all day long? All the defense has to do is sit back and know it's gonna be a curl route. They're gonna be running either to the sticks or behind the sticks all day. They barely went down the field, for anything as far as deep passes, barely any time during the season. When it did happen, I mean, Kenny Galladay caught one. Kyle Rudolph caught a short pass, but he turned it into a 60-yard gain. Other than that, there were barely any passes thrown downfield. So I would love to know what quarterback would have been able to get any sort of wins in this system with everything that had transpired. Injuries, play scheme, that BS nonsense as far as what Joe Judge was calling it, as far as 3rd and 9 QB sneaks from the goal line, and the awful I just lost my train of thought. Field position play that we were doing. I mean, come on now.
Yep. It's very
All
true.
right. Look, we can go through this, and, pick and choose what games we possibly could have won from what games we possibly, we couldn't win. Majority of the time we were getting blown out or on the verge of getting blown out by halftime. So anything that transpired the second half of the game was pretty much garbage, because all the teams knew was like, you know what, if this team got behind 2 touchdowns, there's no way we're coming back. There's no way. We didn't have a decent run game, and we definitely didn't have a decent pass game. Everything was reliant on what the defense could have provided us, and when they did provide, the offense couldn't capitalize. So I would love to know what quarterback could have been able to do anything in this system to get wins. I would love to know.
A touchdown felt insurmountable. And you know what? I mean,
God.
maybe Aaron Rodgers gets an extra 1 or 2, but I guarantee he's asking for a trade midseason.
Oh, absolutely. And especially, again, our receivers can't stay healthy. On top of that, by the time even them receivers are getting to their curl routes, the quarterback got someone in their face already by that point. It's bad, man. It's really bad how I understand we didn't have necessarily the worst offensive line when you look at the statistics, but it damn sure felt like it was the worst offensive line in the league, man. It felt like it was. We
It
made
was.
defensive lines look like they were the best shit in the league. Excuse my language,
I
but
don't
it's
care about
true.
the sack totals. It was by far I mean, you go through all the players' ratings. It was by far the worst offensive line in the league. And I mean, the sack totals ain't going to be there because some teams are actually sending players on deep routes and trying to make plays downfield. So, a lot of that quick stuff eliminated a lot of the sacks, and also Daniel Jones maneuvers around. Like somebody like Joe Burrow, he's more of a pocket guy. Daniel Jones is going to dodge some sacks that would be there. So, yeah, I mean, it was I mean, just go through the ratings.
It's
Go
bad.
through Cincinnati Bengals ratings of all their linemen. Write it down on a sheet of paper. Now go on the ratings of all the Giants offensive line and line it up underneath it. It's pretty
It,
simple.
it's honestly, man, it's a recipe for disaster if you're asking me, man. I mean, you have one player on the offensive line that'll most likely be back, or 100% will be back, in Andrew Thomas next year. I mean, we need to at least, in my opinion, pick up 2 to 3 offensive linemen. I would love 4, but I don't see them picking up 4 in the draft. I do see them attacking O line in free agency. I kind of see them picking up a guard, in my honest opinion. But this kid needs help, or whichever QB you want coming in and being your starter for the New York Giants, he's going to need help on this offensive line, man. It's atrocious. And even with Nick Gates, I love Nick Gates, but we're not going to act like he's one of the best in his positions either. So I wouldn't mind an upgrade either at that position too, because we don't know if he's coming back. So
That's true.
on top of that, we gotta hope that our receivers can stay healthy. Because while I do love the players, in Adoree Jackson, Kenny Galladay, I mean John Ross, and I want us to bring John Ross back. We took chances on players that have injury histories. Let's be real, and for the most part, I was surprised with the Dory Jackson because he played 12 games last year, so he really didn't miss too much time. I know he, ended off the season playing as well, but, we got to get some players that at least can stay healthy, because how many times are we going to have the conversation where, DJ doesn't have all the weapons on the field? He's only played X amount of games with all his weapons on the field. I know that, injuries are very common throughout the league. You really can't prevent them too much. But in my honest opinion, man, I mean, this kid, he doesn't really have his weapons that he needs on the field at most times, and something's got to change. We got to get this kid a solid security blanket, and if we're being honest, his only security blanket that he really relied on was in his rookie season with Darius Slayton. If we're being honest, I mean, we haven't.
Caden Smith. Caden Smith down
Caden
in the
Smith
red
is
zone
another
has
one.
seemed pretty good
Yeah,
for him. Yeah.
especially in that Washington game. And I don't know what grudge Joe Judge had against Caden Smith, but he hardly ever saw the field. It made no sense.
The Giants need to
Yeah, I
find a
mean,
guy for him. Maybe Mike Gesicki. Break down, throw a bunch of roster, throw a giant signing bonus at him, and bring Mike Gesicki in here for him. And if Daniel Jones ain't the guy, it's a nice weapon for the next quarterback to come in with.
I
come
wouldn't
on,
mind a
easy.
player like him. Like I really wouldn't mind a player like Kaseki. I wouldn't mind a player like Mo Alley Cox, who I think might be. I for some reason see Miami bringing back Gasecki, so I'm more leaning towards Mo Alley Cox, but he needs at least, in my opinion, one solid tight end that he could heavily rely on. I mean, you got Mahomes with Kelsey, you got Burrow with Uzmazana, you got Tom Brady had Gronk. Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have that tight end that he can lean on, but he has Devontae Adams. Jimmy
Gronk was
G
out
had,
there.
yeah. I mean, Jimmy
Yeah, they're
G
not gonna
Yeah.
go
had
for Gronk though.
he has George Kittle. Lamar has Mark Andrews. So get this kid a competent tight end, whether that's in free agency, whether that's in the draft, who I hope, we could pick up a player like Jeremy Ruckert. In my opinion, I think that he'd be solid for DJ in this offense. But I mean, this kid hasn't been given any favors, if we're being honest. Again, he's not cleared, out of blame. There's things he has to work on, but I can't sit here and say with a straight face that this kid's been given a chance to succeed.
No, he hasn't. I mean, come on now. Look, I don't know what games you were watching. Easy three. I really don't. I'm hoping that you were watching the same games I was watching, but I'm gonna have to strongly disagree with you because you just made you said Russ Tua. What's the other guy's name there? Russ Tua Ryan.
Russ can't function
Um,
without a power run game. I mean, Peter Simple, Daniel Jones is kind of a similar quarterback in that aspect. If Russell Wilson does not have a strong run game to force one of them safeties down, he's not good. He's just an average quarterback. You see them teams
all
sit
right.
back in the two deep shell coverage, and he's been blatantly average in it. If you don't have a running game, quarterbacks like Russ do not function. Pure and simple.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you there, and also if you look at what I mean, Russ was dealing with the fact of look what Russ was dealing with. He was dealing with an injury, came back, but the same problems that was there prior to him getting injured was already there. The offensive line is bad. He had a bad offensive line. Now, regardless of the fact of how many wins that they got, you have to look at the scheme. Okay, you have to look at the scheme. What was it tailored to for Russ? Was it tailored to for Tua? Tua isn't a good quarterback. They were running a lot of RP was it run pass? Yeah, RPOs with Tua. He was having 2 to 3, not even 2 to 3 second reads. As soon as he got the ball and Jalen Waddle got open on a slant, it was there. It was nothing but 5 yard passes, and those turned into big plays for Miami. Also, you got to look at Miami's defense. Come on now, Miami was blitzing every single play, and if you weren't prepared for that, then guess what? They're gonna rack up wins because no team that I saw Miami was playing had an answer for that blitz. They were sending damn near the whole entire team at the quarterback. So what time do you have if you don't even have the blockers for there, to protect the quarterback? Ryan Tannehill is a game manager, and you saw exactly what a game manager is with Ryan Tannehill. The moment that Derrick Henry went down, it was pretty much on Ryan Tannehill's shoulders. You saw how he played. Bridgewater, I might give you that there, but you saw how Bridgewater played. I
He
mean,
tails off
everything was,
every year.
yeah, he starts off good, and then
Yep.
his plays just starts to dwindle. So
Yep.
again, I understand you just gave Russ to a Ryan and Bridgewater, but put those quarterbacks in our system with everything that went down. You're going to tell me that they were able to get maybe 2 or 4 wins? I don't think so. I gotta
I'll
strongly
look.
disagree with you on there, buddy.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The only quarterback I think out of that group that was mentioned that could have maybe gotten us 1 or 2 more wins in the current situation that we had in 2021 would have been Russ, in my opinion. I think with Tua, I am not a fan of Tua at all, in my opinion. I hope that their new head coach can get something out of him. Um, I honestly, that's just how I feel. Ryan, I agree with you guys. I think he's more of a game manager. And granted, they did have the number one seed, last year, but I, I don't know. I don't see him being that QB that would have been able to put this team on his back, given what we had and won us some games. What's going on, Big Play Slay? What's going on, chat? I appreciate everyone stopping by, man. We're having a lot of fun here. I actually wanted to highlight this comment because I thought it was funny, man. Mark the Blue Giant says only Burrow would have survived because he's used to taking so many sacks. Um, yeah, man. But even then, we don't have a Jamar Chase on this team, so I don't. I really don't even know how many games he would have won us behind this O line. And I think our best weapon in Kadarius Tony, if he could have stayed on the field, and if DJ has a O line or whichever quarterback you want to put behind that O line, I think right there you're looking at a beast of a player. But that's definitely a conversation we could have.
Gotta use them
Um,
right though. Hit squad.
and that's what I get really excited to see. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna bring in both elements of the Chiefs and Bills offense? I was reading that when Dable goes up to his QBs and he'll ask them for what their favorite plays are. He actually includes them in the playbook. I was reading that Cole Beasley had approached Brian Dable, and I guess a play that he ran in college that he was very comfortable with and felt could have benefited the offense was actually the second most play that they used in the playbook. Was that play that Cole Beasley I mentioned that he used in college? So we know that Brian Dable had approached Daniel Jones and said, give me your favorite plays, whether that's in NFL, college, high school. Give me your favorite plays that you like running, and we'll go from there. So I definitely think that we'll see our players get schemed better compared to than what Jason Garrett did. I think Jason Garrett, a lot of people say that, he had that 1980s, early 2000s offense. I think that even if you put that offense into that time, it would have been the worst offense in the league, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh,
It was
definitely.
it was atrocious, man. It was atrocious. And you gotta only hope that this guy could get more out of what we have here. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. While Kenny Galladay, again, he wasn't entirely healthy last year and he didn't get any touchdowns. I'm not going to sit here and act like the kid is a scrub because he's not. He did well over there when they didn't even have a quarterback over there in Detroit. I understand that they had Stafford, but there was games that Stafford didn't play. Where they had their second string quarterback and their third string quarterback, and he's still making plays all over the field. So he has the capability to do that. You also have Kadarius Toney. You still have and we'll get into this guy in a little bit. You still have Saquon Barkley, who's still currently on the team. I'm expecting a bounce back year from him. Hopefully, he has a revamped O line and we can see what this kid does. So we got some weapons, but we do need some pieces to help make this offense better and hopefully, get a better season out of Daniel Jones.
Definitely, definitely, man. I mean, look, we can all agree that DJ wasn't given, the best situation. He didn't come into the best situation. Granted, his play could have been better, but he didn't come into the best situation. Now, I don't know any quarterback where he you saw how good he was his rookie year. Okay? Now, we can all agree that with what the scheme for Pat, whatever scheme Pat Shermer was running, it benefited DJ. You were able to see this kid and basically hope for the best going further. But we all have to honestly agree that once Jason Garrett came in, you saw that DJ had a major regression. You saw it. Some games he did good, some games he didn't, but you saw the regression. So I'm hoping that with Dable, Joe Shane, Brandon Bean, all these guys coming together, the coaches, and being able to get this team and DJ where he is supposed to be at. Whether that's for the long term or not, that awaits to be seen. But this year, we can all agree that we want to see some sort of progression with this team, with DJ, because at some point, regardless of the fact of whether they go forward with DJ or not, this team has to be put in a position to where any other quarterback that comes in does not get the same treatment that DJ got. Because if that's the case, we're going to be seeing the same exact thing over and over and over again. Fans are going to be calling for, Joe Shane and Brian Dable to be fired and everything to be blown up and we're right back at square one. So they have the opportunity to literally start from scratch, come into this organization, see what needs to be done, clean it up. If you got to get rid of some players, get rid of some players. I'm a big fan of Saquon Barkley. I want to see that kid succeed along with DJ behind a competent O line. But at some point, we may have to be saying goodbye to a lot of these players who may have not deserved the treatment that they have gotten as far as what was put around them as far as the team goes. You also have some players that they should go. So you know what? I'm all for Dable and Shane coming in, doing what is necessary. But above all, do it the right way. Build the right way. Let's get this offensive line fixed. I know it's not going to be fixed in one draft. I know that. I know I know it's going to take at least a year or two with this new scheme, new system. I can't wait to see what Mike Kafka and Dable are going to come up with as far as a playbook. I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm going to be patient. You know what I mean? I want to see success. I want to see us at least get to the playoffs, but I know that's not going to happen right away. But I
You
do want to
never
see
know.
progression with this team. You're right.
The
You never
NFL is
know.
wacky, man. You never know. Dak Prescott gets hurt. You never know. The defense plays well. You
Yep.
never know.
That's 100% true, man. I mean, and I agree with you, Super Taj. He says I want a tight end that can block and catch. In a perfect world, yeah. I mean, I think that there's going to be some solid tight ends that you can get in this year's draft. However, there are some tight ends that you can get in free agency. There's actually quite a few that you can get. You got Njoku out there. I think OJ Howard's going to be out there too. Mo Alley Cox. Gasecki. I mean, there's a bunch of tight ends that'll be out there that the Giants could look to pick up with them freeing 40 million. At the same time, again, I could see them really addressing that position in the draft, whether they double up or take one and then take an undrafted free agent. I think there's a variety of different ways, but I'm definitely with you there, man. Let me see here. Just getting to the chat again. Thank you guys for joining the chat, man. If you can hit that like button and subscribe to these two below, man. Excuse me, their chats below. You'll see that they'll have their channels down there. I dropped them in there, and you can also find the links to their channels in the description as well. Now, next, we're gonna talk about my favorite player currently on the New York Giants. At least he's on the Giants for now, and that is Mr. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, man. I think that he's one person that there's a lot that could be said about him, whether that's positive, whether that's negative, and we're going to talk about him here. And that leads me actually to my last question that I received here on Twitter, and that is, if Saquon is on the roster, should we expect a bounce back? I'm gonna start with you, GOS. We'll start that way. I'll give my thoughts, and then we'll have it go to Rodney, man. But if we can revamp this O line, if we can, provide maybe, a better scheme for this kid and for this offense, I mean, should we expect a bounce back year from this kid, or, should we at least look to trade this kid as we're in a rebuilding process?
I mean, if he can stay healthy and he can lose that little fear he's got inside of him, then I see no reason why he couldn't return to the 2018 form. Is that Saquon still there? Is that explosion still there? I don't know. I have a sneaky suspicion it is. Oh, the Saquon Barkley. I hear a lot of the trade stuff. You want to go into that, Hit Squad?
Yeah, yeah, we could definitely do that. You know, I get that in one hand it makes sense to trade him because he's probably at the most you're gonna get him for right now. On top of that, I mean we're in a rebuilding state, so I understand wanting to trade him, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. I really think that if we could keep this kid, man, I mean, you may be able to extend him for, a lot cheaper than you think. I don't think that he should be in a position where he's demanding, number one money in his position where he's been injured multiple times. I think, and I hate saying this, but I think that at this point he is injury prone, whether those are freak accidents, whether those are accidents of him just straight up running the ball. I mean, I don't know. I would want to bring in some competition in the draft, to at least see, okay, if he's not the guy and we do trade him, we have someone that we could fall back on. I like Booker, but I think that we could save some money there by cutting Devontae Booker. um, I'm personally not in favor of cutting him, or even trading him. I know that that's not a favorite, when it comes with Saquon Barkley. But if I'm not getting a second round pick for him, even I don't see us getting a first rounder. But if a team like, let's say, Buffalo, or maybe like the Chiefs, or maybe a team like the Rams or whichever, if I'm not getting a second round pick for him for a team that feels that they're a running back away, then I don't see the harm in keeping him. I really don't see what he can do behind an O line. And if he balls out and let's say DJ doesn't, then I mean, maybe you extend him, and when you draft your rookie QB, you provide him with some weapons because he's not just your average running back. He can catch the ball, and when he's healthy, man, I mean, this kid, he can win you some games. If we're talking about a person that can win you some games, this is a player that can win you some games. I know that people talk about he was running scared. I mean, can you blame him? He's coming off of a serious injury, and this O line is playing like shit. Can you really blame him for running scared behind this offensive line? I don't know about y'all, but I'd be running scared behind this O line, regardless of how talented I am.
Well, I
Well, I
agree
don't think he.
100%.
I don't think he's signing a long-term deal. Like the
I don't
Giants
think so
offered him a
either.
deal right now. I don't think Saquon would accept it because why would you sign now? I mean, say I'm sure Saquon wants to come out and prove it next year and go
I
for it.
mean,
So, but
for
as for the
me,
trading Saquon, if you're not going to get a first or second round pick, I don't see the point in it because if the new coaching staff is serious about giving Daniel Jones a 1 year tryout to see if he can be the guy, then Saquon Barkley is going to be the best route to help him. Unless you can get maybe a first round pick, a second round pick, where you can get him another offensive lineman or something like that, or another weapon that we're not seeing coming through the draft. You got an extra pick, maybe you feel okay at the end of the first round grabbing a wide receiver for him or a guard. But I mean, I think If you're really serious about Daniel Jones, you keep Saquon Barkley. And at worst come to worst, he has a big year. You franchise him, or he walks, and you get yourself a third round comp pick. Because right now, I don't see anybody giving us more than a third round anyway. So you're just holding out, getting that third round draft pick an extra year.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, for me, I'm looking at it from this standpoint. Got the off season, get this kid healthy, get the O line up, and above all, Barkley had. I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that, you know what, based off of what I saw in the last few games, and it really wasn't much, to really talk about, but I saw Saquon Barkley actually coming back, getting a little bit more confidence
likewise,
in his
likewise.
running. You know, he wasn't really bouncing around like that where he was during, the first part of the season. But you coming off of a knee injury a year later, granted, Saquon Barkley isn't Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was a freak of nature. He came back, what? I think it was 8 to 9 months, I think at the most, off of his knee injury.
Well, he didn't tear as much.
Well, you're
He didn't
right.
tear as
You're
much stuff.
absolutely
Yeah,
right.
he didn't tear as many ligaments and stuff as Saquon did. Saquon got
Yeah,
the absolute worst. He tore everything.
yeah. He saw an ACL and MCL injury. So, you know, when it's all said and done, Saquon's going to be looked at by some fans as a bust. Okay, he was picked number 2 overall, not of the kids making, because it wasn't, you know, him saying, "Shoot, take me at 2, get him," and took him at 2. So I'm not going to sit there and hold that against him just because of where he was drafted. My thing is, I want to see this kid behind a competent offensive line, just like DJ. I want to be able to have him come back to form his rookie year, the same form as his rookie year. If he can do that, when it's all said and done, the only thing that's going to be the biggest concern is whether or not you decide to pay him. And at that point, I can see Saquon being traded probably mid-season. Okay, I can see him being traded mid-season to a team that is probably on their way. They're probably 1 or 2 pieces away, and Saquon's going to put him over the top. The other thing that I is a big concern for me is being able to see him utilized the right way. We all know that Saquon is not necessarily a north-south runner. He likes to bounce it out to be able to get that big run. He wants that quick big hit run. That's what he likes.
Yep.
Utilize this kid like Alvin Kamara. You saw how good Alvin Kamara. I've been screaming about this for a long time. Use him like Alvin Kamara. Get him out there. Saquon thrives in space. What space were we giving him this past season? Barely any. I mean, barely any space. Holes weren't even there. So, but of course, he's going to want to bounce outside. There's no holes. Saquon and Booker are 2 totally different running backs. So when I hear that people are comparing him and Booker, well, Booker was hitting those holes. Why can't Saquon? Well, he's coming off of a knee injury. His head is probably not there. And 2, he's probably running scared for the simple fact that if he runs through those holes like Booker is doing and he's able to break through, he's going to get hurt again. So, again, I'm not trying to make excuses for the kid, but the fact of the matter is this. When you sit there and you have to put yourself in his shoes, you got to be able to sit there and take into consideration how this kid is thinking as far as coming off of that injury, seeing what's in front of him, and all that compounding. I would have expected him to have a good year, but based off of what I saw, I guess it was probably well expected for the year that he had.
I'm there with you, man, and I could definitely see us trading him mid-season. Even if he's having a good year, I could definitely see him getting traded. Um, I understand both sides of the sword, right? I understand wanting to keep him. I understand wanting to trade him. Because you do save that 7 million. Now, does a team say, we'll trade you, a second, maybe a third at worst? If third is to the best that they're getting, and the Giants take it, does that team want the Giants to eat the cap, for that year? I'm not entirely sure. I would hope not. But if we're gonna pay this man 7 million, it may make sense to trade him in the midseason. I'd like to keep him for the whole season, see what we can get out of him. But I definitely understand wanting to trade him as well. Jeff says we need a bruising north-south runner like a Jerome Ford. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, man. I mean, we've seen players like Devontae Booker, Wayne Gallman, even Alfred Morris succeed behind, this line and in the 2020 line. Um, I could definitely see us doing a run committee as opposed to just having one solid bell cow, that we have in Saquon. I could definitely see that. And I think that if Saquon is traded, that's exactly what we will do. I think that we'll get a solid 1-2 punch. Rod, I agree with you 100%. I think that we should use Saquon Barkley like Alvin Kamara. This kid can run. He's a pretty solid runner, right? He has some speed to him. He has some great hands. He could catch the ball, whether that's out of the backfield, whether you put him in the slot or on the outside. We saw him do that against the Saints. On top of that, with Saquon too, he just him being on the field alone, defenses have to pay attention to that. They have to figure out where 26 is. He gives you that threat. And I would think, I mean, and I don't want to be too optimistic here, but I would think that if this kid gets an O line, I mean, we could see something similar to 2018. Maybe not the same exact, 2018 season, but I think that we could get pretty close to there. I mean, because 2018, let's be honest, that was a special year, for any back during that time. And I think that when he's healthy, man, I mean, that kid's a beast. He's electric, but I could definitely see him getting traded, man, and it hurts me to say that because he's again my favorite player on this roster currently. But let's get to some comments here because I see the chat talking about Barkley.
Who's the
Uh,
his squad? Who's the running back
yeah,
that Joe Shane brought in from Buffalo? Because I heard he's
uh,
like a physical downhill power runner.
I
Do you
believe
know who
his
I'm
name is
talking about?
Antonio Williams
Yeah,
from the
that might be
Bills.
the guy right there. Never know.
It could be. I honestly, if he can make it through camp, I think that he's a player that could take Brightwell's spot. I don't see Brightwell making this roster next year. I just got to be honest with you. I could see him taking his spot if they cut Booker. Maybe they grab another player from the Bills, or maybe even from the Ravens as well, or Kansas City. Also, they could draft a player too. I've seen some people have us picking up Hassan Haskins. I know that there's some pretty okay running backs that you can get in the second and even in later. I wouldn't take a running back until the fourth round personally. But I just it makes unfortunately it makes a lot of sense to get rid of this kid. But I really want to keep him. I just got to be honest with you, man. Let's see here. I agree with you, Mark. He says Saquon was coming off of a major injury and he'll bounce back this season. I mean, we can hope. We gotta hope that this kid can bounce back.
Yeah, we
Um,
do.
Not just for us, but for him as well. Because if he, I mean, I understand a lot of people say, he had a similar statistical season to Devontae Booker. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, Saquon was injured. He was coming off of an injury as well. So, I mean, I think that if he could be healthy, and again, if we can get him a better O line, I think you will see a better product on the field from Saquon. Um, and I mean, it might be mutual that he wants to leave as well. Do you really think that these players like playing on a losing team? No. Even though we are the Giants, I mean, we haven't been winning. There's some plays, and you can kind of tell with Saquon that he's a little fed up with it too. He mentioned, once I bounce back, the ones that are hating stay on that side. He whether that's he bounces back here, whether he bounces back on another team. I mean, he just saw Odell Beckham find his team and win a Super Bowl. So you don't think that he may want to look to do that in the offseason? It may be mutual. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it may be mutual that he may want to leave as well.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I
What?
mean, but all right. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Scott.
no. Sorry, I was drinking some water. You're good, man. What were you saying? I apologize.
I mean, I'm looking in the chat, and here's the thing. When it's all said and done, we have to look at this as a business. Okay, that's what it is. It's a business, and no matter what, we like certain players. We want to see them succeed, but at the end of the day, this is a business, and based off of the fact that Joe Shane says he wants to clear 40 million off the cap, we have to understand that once you say something like that, you're rebuilding. Plain and simple. You are rebuilding. Okay, when you're looking to get rid of a lot of players, you're rebuilding. Something that we should have did a very long time ago, and it sucks that you had to do it now when you got a running back and a quarterback in their fourth and fifth year, and there's really nothing else to show for it except for, a bunch of contracts that are exceedingly ridiculous in their in the amounts.
Yep.
And barely any. We haven't even had a 10-win season, let alone an 8-win season. We haven't even gone five. Oh, we haven't been over 500 in what, 3-4 years now. So
Embarrassing, man.
it's very embarrassing. So basically, what it is this: I like Saquon. I got his jersey. I like the kid. He's electric.
I
Okay,
got
when he
two of
gets on
them.
the field, hey, see, I mean, when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, this is a business, and we have to look at it from the standpoint that maybe, he may not be here after this season, maybe even the middle of the season. Who knows? But I want to see this kid succeed, whether it's here or whether it's on the Giants or somewhere else. But I want to see him succeed here, by leaps and bounds. But when it's also, like I said, it's a business, and we have to respect the fact that if they decide to trade him, hopefully they get something good in return.
Yep,
But
they're with you.
it's a
They're with
possibility.
you. Yeah, and who knows? They may want to transition to where, they don't want the focal point, to be the run game. They may want to be a passing attack kind of a team going forward, whether that's with Jones or without Jones. I think that if you could get some more weapons, I mean, this offense could be even more scary than what it is. I understand that, again, we don't have that good of a record. We're going to be losing some of these guys. But I mean, on paper, I mean, Galladay, Tony. Hopefully, you can bring back a player like Ross. I mean, there's some talent that you can work with there. But I mean, it's gonna take some time, and I want fans to just be patient. Just there's gonna be some tough decisions. You're gonna see some players that you really like, get cut, maybe get traded. But we just gotta trust that what is going on is going to be for the betterment of this team. Because look, I love Saquon. Don't get me wrong. But if it's what's in the best interest for the team's future and what's in the best interest for Saquon as well, got to trade him. Same thing with Martinez. I want us to bring Martinez back. But if they feel that, Martinez isn't a good fit in Wink's defense and he gets cut, then I'm sorry, then we look to get that position addressed in the draft. So it's at the end of the day, man, I mean, they're going to get their players in here. We got some players that we can work with, whether that's on the defense or on the offensive side of the ball. But we got to trust that what they're doing is what's for the betterment of the team. And it's not going to take a year. It's going to take at least, in my opinion, 3 years for us to see, okay, this is what we have. This is the team that we were working all this time to build. I think that we have talent on this team currently. And I think that if we do this right, we could be a 7-8 win team next year, especially, I mean, I'll even say 9. When you really look at who we're playing next year, it's not impossible, especially if you get this kid in offensive line. You kidding me? I think that it's very possible. So I don't think we're as far off as we think. Um, but yeah, that's how I feel on that.
Yeah, JOS, you still there?
I
Yeah,
think
I'm
he's
here.
yeah, he's still
I'm just
here.
muted, just chilling, listening. Yeah, I mean, if the Giants can actually do a 1 year flip like we've seen from teams like the Browns or something, or Tennessee Titans on their offensive line, and I think Saquon Barkley kind of becomes a little expendable because if we have a decent line, I mean, you can get production from anywhere. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cheap guys from the Buffalo Bills, from the Ravens, from all the coaches that came in, the GM. There's a lot of cheap options there for us to bring in, and this could look like a totally different team. I agree. A lot of
Yep.
good players could get cut, and we could really. And I also agree, like we could see 8, 9, 10 wins also next year because the schedule is weak as hell. With the way injuries are nowadays, you never know who gets hurt, and the division. The division is weak to begin with, and if it really is a productive offense and the offensive line is halfway decent, I do think the Giants could be in the mix. Maybe they can't beat out Dallas, but they could be in the mix. We'll see because Dallas is going to have to start gutting their roster. Dak's
I
money
was
kicked
just
in.
about to
A lot
say,
of
yeah.
guys have to start going out the door now. And
I
maybe
mean,
that's a
they're gonna
benefit
have
to us.
to.
Maybe we get some of their guys in here. Maybe we get Randy Gregory in here. We get a dog on the line. So we'll see how it
I'm
all
there
works
with
out.
you.
The
I'm
NFL
there with
is 1 year, man. Everything can switch. And it just seems like every once in a while you get that 1 year. This goes for every franchise. 1 year out of the blue where you're just lights out, and then obviously it just goes away. But I'm looking for that 1 year, that spark. Maybe you get 3-4 games to start off the season where teams don't know our scheme. It takes them a while to catch up, and maybe you can steal a few wins from teams that you shouldn't have. So, I'm not trying to get
you.
everybody expectations up, but I'm saying I think it is possible.
I'm there with you. I think you made a great point there. And look, especially with Dallas, look, I'm gonna say this much. I know some people may not agree. I think that Dallas is going to be going on the downhill. I'm gonna just say this that much because Dak's money, as you just said, kicked in. They may honestly move off of Amari Cooper this offseason. I think he's getting 20 million this year. They don't have the money for that. On top of that, you have Demarcus Lawrence. He's making, I believe, 18 to 20 million dollars this year. I mean, they have a lot of players that they're going to be having to get rid of. On top of that, their offensive line that we've seen dominate for years is getting older. I mean, I'm just being real. They're getting older. They're not staying healthy. So Dallas, I mean, Dallas's window, in my opinion, was open the last 3 years. And they just haven't been able to succeed. And I think that window is closing, in my honest opinion. And I think that like a team like Philly, if Washington could get a QB, even the Giants, if we can make some again, we address this online. We get some weapons. They could be in the mix going forward the next, year or two from now. I mean, I think it's very much possible. It only takes 1 year. I mean, I don't think Bengals fans were expecting them to win the division this year.
No.
I don't think they were expecting that at all. I don't think when you really look at it, I don't think when you look at the NFC West that they were expecting the Cardinals to win that division. Or I think the Cardinals won that division, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was the Rams, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm a check because
Am I
I
wrong?
think the Rams beat them. I know the Rams they split with them.
You know what
Um,
player I've been eyeing from the Cowboys hit squad?
who you been eyeing, man?
Cedric Wilson, dude. He's like a cheap option. And when Michael Gallup went down and got hurt last year, he really showed flashes, man. He's got a little Mario Manningham in him. I'd love to get him
Yeah,
in here real cheap.
you're
I
right.
mean,
You're right. He was
he's
pretty
a
good.
solid player. I mean, do you think that Dallas may look to extend him if they get rid of Gallup and Amari?
I
Because I
don't
think
Probably
think so.
if they let Gallup walk, but here's the beautiful thing. Well, you can always throw an extra million at him. If Merritt's serious about winning here, well, you can always outbid him. You can always throw him an extra million in the signing bonus. Dallas is strapped for cash. They're not going to
that's very
overpay
true.
what they think for some players. So they're probably going
Yep.
to throw him 4 million. Maybe we toss him 5 and stick it right through Dallas.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind that at all. And I think that a player like Albert Wilson could be a perfect player for this scheme. I think they're not the same player, but I think that he would maybe even use him, in a Gabriel Davis kind of a way, with this scheme. I wouldn't mind picking up, one of their tight ends either. Because they got some two solid tight ends over there in Jarwin and Schultz. And I think it's Schultz that's going to be a free agent this offseason. But they may take him though. I could definitely see that as well. But I wouldn't
Schultz
mind
is
it.
projected to get 13 million.
I ain't giving them that money. I'm gonna be
That's what
honest
I'm
with
saying.
you.
That's insane. That's
I
crazy, ain't
I,
it?
I can't
Leighton
do it.
Vander Esch is there. I don't know if he'd fit Wing's scheme. I never watched him a lot, but Leighton Vander Esch is out there. He's projected to get like 6 million or something like that.
If Gallup was healthy and he didn't have that, I think it's was it an ACL or an Achilles? I think it was an ACL. If he didn't have that ACL injury, I'd take him in a heartbeat. That dude was solid
Yeah,
as
but I
hell.
think he's going to get a little bit more. I think he's going to get in the 8-9 million range because he's a hell of a receiver.
Yeah, that's very.
Wait,
This
is
is very true here.
what is Gallup and Wilson both free agents?
Yup, both of them.
Yep, both of them
Oh,
are, and Dallas is strapped for cash. And right now, the hot topic with Dallas is them looking to move off of Amari Cooper.
well, yeah, I've heard that they're looking to move on from Amari Cooper. But Jeff made a good point. I think if Gallup comes back healthy, they're willing to keep Gallup. At that point,
I think so too.
what's going to happen as far as where Wilson's concerned? They might keep Wilson as well, because if they're willing to let Cooper go, then they're going to need another wide receiver in there unless they hit one up for either free agency or the draft. So depending on whatever they did, and as far as those two things are concerned, maybe Wilson is available. Whether or not they'll let him come to us, that's another thing. But I mean, when
Well,
it's all
this is
said
all
and done,
dependent on Dak Prescott. This is all dependent on Dak Prescott redoing his contract. If he don't, he's kind of the Cowboys are kind of up shit creek here. They're going to have to let go of Amari and really be tight with their money. So it's going to be a
That's
sad day if Dak
very
Prescott reworks his contract. I'll hang my head a little low and
true.
have less expectations for some of their players.
I mean, and that's the thing too, man. I mean, there's going to be some players throughout the league that are going to be some, surprise cuts. I would not be shocked at all if, they do keep a player like Albert Wilson and they let go of Amari and Gallup. Because I could see Gallup going to Miami. I'll be 100% honest with you. I think that he'd be perfect over there with Tua. And then you
You
throw in
got Albert
Jalen
Wilson on
Waddle
the
at the pick.
mind?
Nah, I mean,
No,
I
you
want to
called
look.
Albert. What you said out? You've called Cedric Wilson Albert
Oh
Wilson
yeah, Seldrick.
twice.
I know. I've said it twice. Yeah, nah. Because I know that he played with Miami as well, if I'm correct, Albert Wilson. But Cedric Wilson from Dallas, I think that they may look to keep him, and I think that Michael Gallup would actually be a perfect fit in Miami. If I'm being honest with you, Miami or even San Francisco, I think that he would be really good over there with Lance and that Shanahan scheme. Oh, you think
yeah. Well,
Debo nasty?
did you hear that? There's a good chance that they're going to be keeping Garoppolo instead of
I didn't.
moving on from him. Yeah, I mean, I want to say it was Shanahan that came out, unless it was someone else. But yeah, they're looking to possibly keep him because Lance may not even be ready. And honestly, I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't sit there and say that's smoke that they're throwing out is a smoke screen, because that kid really had one good year in college, just one. So he's pretty raw, and you saw, you know, yeah, he did some good things on the field, but the simple as that is that there's a good chance that Garoppolo is going to be coming back, and whether or not Trey Lance starts, that's another thing. But I mean, my take on putting in a rookie QB is once you put that QB in, you can't take him out, because no matter whether or not that kid is doing good or not, unless you have like a Garoppolo, backing him up where you trust Garoppolo to come in and do what's necessary, you got to keep that rookie in. And that's the same thing for for the guys, for the people who are saying that, okay, let's draft Malik Willis for the Giants. Okay, if Daniel Jones is having a shitty year or shitty first 3 games and you put Malik Willis in, you can't take him out. You have to keep him in, because if not, you're just not only are you ruining the kid at this point, you're setting the kid up for failure, because now you don't have any trust in him. And you want to be able to have that trust in a quarterback that you're just now putting in, especially if he's a rookie. So, as far as I'm concerned, hey, it's the 49ers. I'm a Giants fan. I can really care less what they're doing. But yeah, I did hear that there's a possibility that they're going to be keeping Jimmy G.
If he's not
Yeah,
ready, he's not ready. I mean, pure and simple. North Dakota State doesn't really have the toughest competition. That's bottom of the barrel over there. But he's got a
I
good
mean it's
situation.
possible.
If you can't succeed there, I mean, where can you? Shanahan schemes up a lot
Exactly.
of easy stuff. You could be a bad quarterback and win in that offense. So
Yeah, and his offense is, very run based. So I feel like if you really can't succeed in that offense, I mean, and at the same time, I mean, I think that Jimmy G could succeed elsewhere. I like this comment. DMAX says he should go to Cleveland. I think that he'd do pretty solid in Cleveland. I'm not gonna lie. I think it'd be
What are
an
you
upgrade
doing
over
with
Mayfield.
Baker? What are you doing with Baker? I mean, come on now.
wait,
You
Send
can't
Baker
really
to
exclude.
Houston.
Well,
they like their
I'll put it
backup
to you.
over there. I heard. What's
Davis
his
Yeah,
name?
Mills,
so
yeah.
who
Who?
I can see where Baker could go? Minnesota.
Ooh, okay. What about Jimmy
Because
G in Minnesota?
no, nah. I see him more Washington and Cleveland, but
I, I
not
could see
Minnesota.
Washington. I could definitely see Washington.
You guys think they're moving off Baker, huh?
I think
Oh,
after this
God.
year they will. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think after this year they will.
Wait, don't they have the choice of picking up his fifth-year option?
I think they already did.
Well, I mean, at this point, you got to go with him. You have no choice. You have to. If you picked up that kid's fifth-year option, you have no choice. So you've already committed to paying him a boatload of money. So you might as well run it back with him and see what he can do. But it is what it is. It depends on
Cleveland
how
should
he
go
comes
for a
back
Watson
from his
trade.
injuries. That kid's not leaving anytime soon until all those charges get figured out. No
I heard
team is
close.
going to. Well, until you sit there and you possibly see, he's been vindicated, he's been, exonerated of all these charges, fine. But I don't think any team is going to take a chance on Watson with what's going on. You're literally giving up a future for an unknown, and I don't think any team's ready to do that right now.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands, man. I mean, because he's still a very talented kid. I wanted to save these comments for last because I want to get GOS and Big Blue Corner. I want to get your thoughts on them. Mark asked GOS, who is your under the radar player for this draft the Giants should take? I know that you've been doing a lot of different draft content. You've been really hammering that shit down. If I'm being honest with you. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, it depends on first round. I think an under the radar guy that people aren't talking about right now is they could go a cornerback. You could see Sauce Gardner or Derek Stingley being one of them top two picks, or even Hamilton, the safety, if he drops. Second round, I could see something like Jay Sanders being an underrated radar kind of pick in the second round area. It's hard to say. There's so many guys out there, but yeah, I think that the Giants could go in a direction of a secondary more so than the defensive line. And as for the Ravens and all that stuff, I'm eyeing Calais Campbell right now. Like, that is a guy I am eyeing. He said he's going to come back for at least one more year. He's going to be dirt cheap. He always grades that well. He doesn't have the sack totals like he used to. He's still a damn good player, and he would be great to plug up the middle for the Giants right now. And also a defensive tackle in the third or fourth round if they don't go that route in free agency. That would be under the radar. Somebody like Travis Jones from UConn, who's the kid from Alabama, McPherson or whatever his name is. I got so many names in my mind. Yeah, one of them two defensive tackles in the third and fourth round. That could be a sneaky under the radar kind of thing too.
Okay, I like that. I like that. You got any players you have in mind, Big Blue Corner?
For me, yeah, I got a lot of players, but first and foremost, first round, what I would like for them to do, if you can get an offensive lineman, get an offensive lineman. If you can trade back. But for me, offensive lineman, maybe pick 5, but number 7, I'm going after Devin Lloyd. Now, I don't know how you guys feel as far as the linebackers is concerned, but if we're able to get a kid like this, I mean, the sky's the limit. We haven't taken a linebacker, in the first round since what? I think it was 81, 82, somewhere in that area. I mean, it's been a long time since we did that. And for me, that's one of the picks is like, okay, it's a good possibility. If he's there, do you take him? Best player available. But yeah, first round, as far as a player, under the radar that we possibly could get, Devin Lloyd. Second round, I'm with you, GOS, maybe a Jay Sanders. If we don't go the linebacker route in the first round, you got Quay Walker, you got Chad Muma, and Christian Harris. And you also got another guy who's actually climbing up right now, and that's the kid from Penn State. I can't even remember his name.
Arnold Abika?
No, it's a linebacker from Penn State. I can't remember his name. I think it's Brendan Smith or something like that. But he's another one. Yeah, that it's a good possibility. Hey, that's someone we can get. But I mean, when it's all said and done, maybe Smoke Monday. Now that's a name I keep hearing.
I like
I
the
guess
name
he's.
already.
I mean, just the name itself, right there. It's like, wait a minute. I need to see what this kid is all about with a name like Smoke Monday, and also one of these tight ends. That's the thing for me. What are they going to do as far as a tight end is
Well, is
Yeah.
that under
concerned?
the radar though? I'm kind of
Well,
expecting Titan.
my player that I had under the radar. I mean, the more we talk about these under the radar players, I'm starting to think he ain't so under the radar. But I was just thinking maybe in the second round, Arnold Abike from Penn State. If they don't take an edge rusher in the first round, I mean, I think that he could be a solid player in the early second because we got the 36 picks. So I mean, you could consider that a late first rounder, if you will.
Yeah, I view him as a more of an end of the second round, third round guy, but I mean, I definitely see the upside. I just don't. I don't see the burst from him. You know what I mean? Like he's got great
Yeah.
bend and all that stuff, like the player, but he's kind of a project early second. Bridge of first round, I don't know. You said Devin Lloyd. I'm a huge Devin Lloyd guy,
Oh, me too, me
but
too.
I think the Kobe Dean is like Patrick Queen on meth. So I think if Wink would choose a linebacker, I feel like he'd be the one punching the table for Nakobe Dean because if that guy can bulk up and put on some size, oh my God, he could be
Wait,
terrifying in his defense.
you think he'd take Dean over Lloyd?
Oh, I know he would because that's the style of linebacker he wants. He wants them fast, quick guys, and he can blitz off the edge. He can blindside blitz. He can kill somebody. That guy, he's going to hurt somebody.
But here's the question: is he good in pass coverage? Because Lloyd he can do it all.
I understand.
So
There is, in some ways, Nakobe Dean is better. Like Nakobe Dean is a downhill guy. Anything he sees downhill, so saying like a zone or something. Once you start to get the ball over Nakobe, that's where Devin Lloyd's a little bit better. Like when the ball goes over his head, I think that's where you're going to get the better coverage ability from Lloyd. I think either way, either one would be a great pick and it would be a scheme fit. I just feel like Nakobe Dean is literally the prototype for what Wink wants. He was built for it.
I
You
think
need
that
to
he
go
would
watch
fit too.
Patrick Queen. Go watch Patrick Queen and Nakobe Dean in their college, the way they play. They are almost identical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he would use them in a lot of different ways, and I think that honestly, he'd fit like a glove. If I'm being real with you, first things first, happy birthday, Adam! I appreciate you spending your birthday here over at the Big Blue Topic. We appreciate it, man. Happy birthday, buddy! I hope that you're enjoying this one, man. Wow, I mean, hey, nice seeing you, Joe. What is going on,
how's it
chat?
going, Joe?
We got 11 people in here, so I appreciate you guys watching, man. It really means a lot. Hope you guys are doing well, man. But yeah, nah, man. I think that he'd be a perfect fit in this defense. And honestly, the more we talk about it and the more we inch closer to the draft, I could absolutely see them taking it, especially if we trade back from 7. I could see them taking a linebacker, whether that's at 10
Yep.
or at 12. I could see it.
That's why I didn't mention
Um,
it. I don't think that's under the radar. I think that's a complete option at this point.
yeah, definitely. And actually, since we're on the topic of linebacker, I'll go back to this comment that Mark asked. He says, "Is there a linebacker or a cornerback you like in the second round?" I mean, we just spoke about linebacker, but is there maybe a cornerback that you guys like in the second?
Maybe if like
Wow.
somebody like Kieran Elam or whatever drops, somebody like that. I haven't looked at a whole bunch of them. Maybe if Andrew Booth drops, but I mean we're talking about guys that are probably going to go middle of the first. If somebody like that falls, then yeah, I'm completely down. Who's the other guy from Georgia? Darian. Oh my God, I can't think of his name. There's a guy in Georgia who's supposed to go right around there. I think it's like Darian Kirkland or something. Yeah,
I'm
he'd
trying
be
to pull
something
it
on
up
the.
to
I
see.
got so many names in my head that get jumbled up. I don't have my notes by me, but yeah, that'd be the guys. But maybe Elam drops. Maybe you could trade up a few spots and grab Elam right there. He'd be pretty good. He could turn into a hell of a press man corner. He just needs time to
Okay.
develop. That kid is nasty.
Well, I got one for you, Roger McCreary. That's a guy that we could look to get in a second. Maybe a Darion Kendrick. That's the guy you were talking about from Georgia.
Yeah, Kendrick. That's his name. I got the tackle mixed up that just went back to college. Kirkland. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, there's a few guys, as far as cornerback is concerned, in the second round if we choose to go that route. I mean, it all depends on what we do in the first. And I'm a big proponent of trading back. I All the mock drafts that I've done, I have always traded back because, again, you're gonna have some QB needy teams looking to trade up, and we're in a good position to do it. We're in a very good position to do it because anybody who wants a quarterback is going to have to probably jump Carolina,
That's
because
true.
Carolina might be in the market for a quarterback. So we're in a good position. And regardless of whoever goes, it could be a point where maybe Iquanu more than likely might fall to us. Maybe Thibodeau fall to us at 5. Who knows? But the thing is, if you utilize your number 5 pick, look to trade that number 7 pick because that can open up a lot of things as far as what we could do in the later rounds.
Yeah, and even next year possibly. There's I honestly, depending how far back we trade, we could potentially get a first round pick for next year. I don't think that's out of the realm of conversation. My thing is, if we're talking about second round corners, one that I actually like is Daxton Hill from Michigan. You could also do, Jalen, I believe it's Jalen Petier from Baylor. But I think that he might go in the late first round, possibly. But I think that's really who I'm looking at right now, or maybe even Kyler Gordon for Washington, who you can maybe pick up in the later half of the second, maybe the early third if you want to trade up. But yeah, those are players that I'm looking at personally.
There's so many cheap corners in this year's free agency, like super cheap.
That's true.
Of course,
Very
you
true.
run into like that. Most 90% of them are injury prone, so maybe you want to sign a couple of them. But there is so many cheap guys, like a Kella Witherspoon from Pittsburgh. My wife's a Steelers fan, and I watch that guy when he's on the field. Boy, he's electric. You can get him real cheap, and maybe he turns out to be just as good as Bradbury. So I think there's a couple guys like people keep bringing up Jimmy Smith. Maybe that's a free agent guy you could bring in. Maybe he's not over the hill washed yet. Probably get him for vet minimum, just about somewhere around there. So there's options of free agency too. You don't have to go into the draft punching a table, going, "I need a corner, I need a corner." Even though I think Bradbury will be gone, but we'll see how it works out. Should be interesting, one or the other of the corners.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you also have like Jason Verrett, but I mean,
Yep,
I think he's projected to make like his market is around 5.5 million, which
yep.
I wouldn't necessarily complain about that. You got Bryce Callahan, from Denver. He may want a
Good
little bit
slot
more.
guy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another one that I could actually see would maybe even be Jimmy Smith from
Yeah,
Baltimore. I could see that, or or even if you want to, I guess, be a little out there, you could look at maybe like a player like Levi Wallace from Buffalo. Um, I mean, I don't know if we
yeah.
had the money.
More of his own guy, but I think he could hold his own
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and,
and
and,
got
and
a
I know that we're going to
relationship.
be more man to man too, in this
Yeah,
defense. Like I said, I was telling you this, GOS. If we had more money, I'd love to bring in a player like Jackson, man, JC Jackson, but we're not going to have nowhere near that money that he's
you
projected
got
to
about
make.
16 million to throw at him. I'd probably get him.
Yeah, man. I mean, and another one that you could actually look at too is, I mean, again, he might demand more money. You could look at a player like Gilmore, where I don't think
That-
honestly the
yeah,
Panthers may keep him because they're gonna have J.C. Horn coming back. I think they really only made that trade because he went out with an ACL tear, in
absolutely.
J.C. Horn. So he's gonna be on that's gonna be his fourth team that he's on, Stephon Gilmore. So he
He
may
still
not.
flashes though. Once in a while, he
He
still
is.
flashes high end play. It's not what he used
Exactly,
to
and
be,
and
but
and
he's
he
still
could
damn
play
good.
both man and zone as well. So
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Where it's going to be a pretty good market for corners that you could pick up in free agency. I could absolutely see them do that. Especially if Bradbury gets removed. I know that we talk about Williams, who we picked up this year in the draft, where I think he tore his ACL earlier in the season. But is he a fit in this defense? Wake may view otherwise. I think Aaron Robinson's a fit in this defense. Adory's a great fit in this defense.
Oh,
But
Rodeus is a man guy. He's a man
yeah,
corner guy.
but
Yeah,
he is
he
also
was one of the
coming off of
guys
an
that
ACL too.
right. I wouldn't rely on him, but he was one of them guys that they brought in because last year Gettleman wanted to get some guys to run more man. They wanted to be blitz more and play more man, and he was one of them guys that they specifically targeted for that. So you're playing a lot of man. I think maybe he even buy you a couple games if somebody goes down. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
terrified to put him in there if he stays healthy.
I'm there with you, man. Easy three. I'm gonna definitely check that out after this stream because I definitely want to see what you do, man. If y'all don't know, Easy Three makes giant content as well. Y'all go subscribe to him, man. He's a great content creator. So I appreciate you stopping by, man, for real. Um, I could definitely see Gilmore going to Seattle or San Francisco. If he could land in San Francisco, I mean, that would be a plus for that defense that's already stacked over there. I mean, Verrett holds his own. I don't think that they will keep Josh Norman, who's over there, but I could absolutely see them, going in that direction. But look, guys, we are at the hour and a half mark. I appreciate everyone who has came through to the Big Blue Topic episode 3. We're gonna head out, guys. I appreciate you guys stopping through. Giant opinion, Big Blue Corner. If you got anything else you'd like to say, the mic is yours.
Happy birthday, Adam. That's all I gotta say. Peace out, y'all.
Yeah, happy birthday, Adam. Easy three. It was good debating with you, man. I'm gonna have to sub up to your page and check some stuff out there on your page there, buddy, and probably hit you up with some comments too. Maybe we can get into some good debates as well. But
Yeah.
everybody else, have a good one, and always, hey, we bleed blue around here. So, big ups to the Giants. Let's hope everything goes well this year, new season.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, again, happy birthday, Adam. Thank you guys so much for joining the show, and we're going to head out.